Hello and welcome to the MRO show presented by Chadwell Supply. I'm your host, Adam Porter. Chadwell Supply is 100% dedicated to the multifamily industry. Your order is on our truck delivered the next day. Learn more at chadwellsupply.com. Today we're going to learn some things from my good friend, Director of Field Renovations for Chadwell Supply, Hank Childers. Hank, how you doing?
Good. It's great to be here. I mean, it's an awesome event, and I'm looking really excited. It's my first podcast ever, so it's kind of cool.
You're going to be a professional right out of the gate, Hank. I have that feeling. So, thinking about your regional director of field renovations here at Chadwell, you have had a pretty interesting multifamily story. Not just in Chadwell Supply, but before that, share a little bit about how you got to be where you are today.
Well, my wife, Michelle, who's been on a few of these, has been in multifamily for a long time. So I've been around it. And, I was managing a very, very large commercial warehouse, like 700,000 square feet. Pretty cool. And the owner of that business, I know it's going to be an odd story, but the owner of that business had an accountant that had another client who was in the multifamily business as an owner. And they both were, making pretty good money, but they had way different things going on when it came tax time. So they met each other, and long story short, eventually it got into where we started doing some of the renovation stuff for that owner because we had a client in that facility that was in the hardware business. And so those two guys, the apartment owner and my warehouse owner, they became great friends, and we started doing a little MRO. Then there was a consultant involved, and I started working for this company out of Dallas for about a year. I think they were having a little bit of struggles, and I could see that it wasn't going the right way. And during that time, I had met John Daniel with Chadwell Supply through some business things and all that. And, one day I called him up and said, hey, if you can service Birmingham, Alabama, I want to work for your company. And the rest is history. I mean, I've spent, they had a leap of faith in me, and I was an MRO salesperson for about 10 years. Then I went over to our renovation side. During my MRO sales time, we all did our own renovations. We didn't really have a developed renovation department. So, I had a lot of experience in that, and we had a need in my area after about 10 years, I think it was like 2019. It was right before COVID. And I moved over to where I was doing renovations, and I've done a lot, and it led me up to where I was promoted to a regional director. So I like to say in renovations, I hadn't seen it all, but I've seen a lot. So.
And what was it about Chadwell Supply that made you take that leap of faith to begin with, Hank?
It was the reputation, people that I had in my brief entry into the multifamily world. People talked about the owners and the family, and that it was. And I started meeting some of the people, and I said, this is pretty cool. There's something going on here. I mean, it's just a unique kind of company. People care about each other, and they really care about the customer, and the customers sense that and give that love back. So,
That's definitely been my experience as well. I said last week was my 2-year anniversary here at Chadwell Supply, and I tell you, they put their core values out there and mean it.
Yeah.
And they talk about the Chadwell difference, and they mean it. So it is really, I can echo what you're saying. You saw a difference.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting, and you kind of get in your own little world, and I've seen it grow exponentially. And August will be 15 years for me here, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. But it's just doing the right thing. It boils down to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And I think most everybody does that, and it's treat others as you want to be treated, and it's very simple, but that's the way that I've been able to stay successful, is because you earn trust, you earn partnerships, and that's what it's all about.
I love that. It takes a while to earn trust, but when you do the work, you do it right, you earn that trust.
People figure it out. Yeah, that you're somebody that's going to tell them the truth, give them the good news, the bad news, because I'm sure that we'll get into this, but in these reno jobs, there's timing that's going on.
Yeah.
And you've got to sometimes give bad news and maybe with a solution or whatever. So, but it's not always good news.
Sure. And I like what you said earlier when I come back to this. You mentioned something when you were sharing your story. You said they started getting into reno, and it really is something that upgrades are going to happen. If you're going to be in multifamily, sooner or later, a renovation's a reality. You're going to have
Yes.
to take that step. You're going to competition up the street. Maybe they're new, maybe they've renovated, and now potential residents are coming in, they're looking around, and they see a difference. So we have to come in. You said earlier, as a TSM, you were doing your own renovations. So now we have a dedicated renovation team, a partner that can come into a property. And then before I tell you, just walk us through, like, what is that process when somebody calls Chadwell Supply and says, we're thinking about doing a renovation, or the TSM asks them and they say, we want to do a reno. What does your team do, Hank?
So our team of renovation field manager professionals, I mean, when they get a lead from any source, referral from whatever, from one of our local TSM salesmen, national account people, when they get a lead of any source, the first thing they've got to do is qualify that. So they get a hold of the customer, go in there, and basically the first question you ask is, hey, what are we trying to accomplish here? And you listen, and the customer will tell you what they're trying to do, and you can sense. We've got a lot of veterans, and you can sense if they need any help leading towards, well, maybe have you looked at this or that, or some of them are just very simple. They'll just kind of tell you straight up, we're updating our appliances and we're changing out our blinds, and we're going to change everything in the kitchen.
Okay.
Kitchen light, kitchen faucets, knobs and pulls. It's very simple. Some of them get more complicated, but it really, I say this to everyone that's in this line of work, the core is find out what the mission is. Ask them what they're trying to accomplish and listen.
Let's talk about, it seems so simple, but it can be a heavy lift sometimes to really pay attention. A lot of people don't want to do that, do they, Hank?
No, they don't, especially when you're in a kind of a sales role. Some people like to just prove that they know everything in the room, whatever. But, it just gets back to listening and understanding and being honest with them. Once you do hear what they're trying to accomplish, you let them know what potential roadblocks we might run into.
And our team is not only are they looking to have that conversation, they're trained to start asking those questions that you mentioned so that you can listen to the right thing. Let me ask you this, because you alluded to this a minute ago. There's CapEx, big renovation projects. There's unit upgrades. There's a lot of different ways to look at a renovation. Kind of walk me through the different kind of big idea options for differences in renovation projects.
Okay. Well, we've seen, like there's a management company in particular that comes to my mind that every time they buy a property, and it doesn't matter what the circumstances are going on in the world, every time they buy an older property, they renovate from unit 1 to unit 400. Period. End of story. They're gonna do everything. Mm-hmm. Some others are, lender requirements. They got to elevate the value of the asset. You touched on some of them are trying to compete with their neighbors that are maybe newer and nicer. Some of them are just trying to, like I said, elevate the value of the property, raise their rents. But the projects range from, as I said, anything from sometimes it's just we want to change our kitchen light and kitchen faucet, what you see when you walk in, and maybe change ceiling fans or whatever. And then some are doing full, where they're doing either full cabinets, cabinet doors, countertops, appliances, water heaters, new thermostats. I mean, updating to the new smoke alarms, all lighting, window coverings. I mean, it's just, you can go from a little to any, but regardless of the size of project, we have our people trained to help them navigate the waters.
I like what you said there. What the people are looking for is the thing that they need to get. Let's say you have a property out there, their budget's kind of tight. They know that they need to compete. They know they need to elevate. Your team can come in and show them some key ways to make some small differences that can protect their budget, can't they?
They can. You kind of start with the wish list of the customer, and then you talk about the budget. you come up with, okay, well, what can we stretch those dollars to do? What's going to be the most bang for the buck on that? Whether it's, ceiling fans or lighting or whatever. But yes, we've been in enough projects. It's funny when I'm training a new renovation field manager, I tell them that the concept is the same of every job, but they're all different. You're doing some level of it, and they're all different because you got different levels of emergency and preparedness and budget and finances and all that. So it's really just, our folks are trained to do from the little to the massive.
Well, what are some of the challenges that a property might face when starting a renovation?
Number one, we like to find out, when they're going to start. There could be different years where product is harder to get for some reason. A factory has a problem somewhere that affects this. So you got pricing, the product availability, product selection. Sometimes they know what they want. Sometimes you're there dealing with a property staff who's been given a task of, hey, we need to start upgrading some units, but somebody else is making the decision on what it's going to be. So you can get a challenge of what is it you want, but now who's going to do the work? Is their on-site staff going to do the work? Are they bringing a contractor to do the work? So, the more you know about those jobs, we understand that one of the reasons that I get so excited about Chadwell having such a high fill rate is if we don't get product there, not only are we slowing the job down a little bit, we're irritating the fire out of a contractor who doesn't want to come back, So there are a lot of little things, budgets, where are they getting their money? Do they have it lined up? Is it a kind of a wish list thing or,
We talked about fill rate. We just came into Vegas and our production team flew in on Tuesday. We had a chance to tour an active renovation. And I asked the maintenance supervisor, I said, hey, Susie, why did you go with Chadwell Supply? And he said, well, it's pretty simple. You guys could get us what we needed when we needed it. And I said, well, that seems pretty simple. He said, you would be surprised how often that doesn't happen.
Yeah. Well, it's a huge deal because at the end, when we've got a vacant unit that's being renovated, at the end of the tunnel, there's an owner somewhere who's very, very interested in someone moving into that apartment and starting to pay rent there, right?
Yeah.
So it really does come into play. And a lot of times with my reno team, one of the big selling factors we have is that, if we can get that unit completed a couple of weeks early, what's the value of a few weeks rent there? Right. There's all kinds of things that factors in play. And, but again, the contractor thing, the fill rate is huge. When that stuff shows up, that's, one of the key elements because no one likes revisiting that apartment. They don't want to get 70% of it done and then come back a week later when some back order shows up. So it's a big deal.
And that fill rate is measuring the percentage of orders that are pulled and shipped and delivered 100% the first time.
Correct.
Right. That's for people. That's one of those terms that not everybody understands. That's if you order it, we're going to get it to you on that first delivery.
Well, and that's again where I give kudos to our owners and leaders in understanding that, what we do is deliver. We put our money into inventory and it pays dividends.
So let me ask you this. The title of this episode is Problem-Free Property Renovations. So Hank, in your experience, have you ever had a perfect renovation project?
No, there's not ever going to be one.
How can you?
Sorry. No, it's fine. I'll elaborate.
How can you get close to perfect?
Well, it really comes down, like a lot of things in life. First is communication. The supplier and if there's contractors involved, everyone involved in that project needs to have a clear vision of what we're trying to do, when we're trying to do it, and how much money we got to do it with. And then it takes, planning. There's an old saying, failing to plan is planning to fail.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't make it up, but I remembered it.
It works. Yeah.
But it's communication, planning, then, everybody has to be dedicated to executing the plan. So we as a supply company, again, it's understanding what they need, get it there. Sometimes there's changes. Somebody comes in, I don't like that ceiling fan, let's switch to another. You got to make changes. Again, keep everything communication. Make sure you're talking to the right people that are, making the decisions and can get us, get this job started. But, really it's just understanding who you're dealing with, what they're trying to do.
Yeah. So what I heard you say is ask the right questions, get the right team put together, get the products that they need when they need them, and be flexible because something is going to change.
Yes. I mean, I've been doing this a long time, but I won't pick on my folks and call them out by name, but of course, I've had some of my employees before, they'll call me and ask me this and ask me this. And I say, well, did you ask the customer this? Oh, I didn't ask that. Call them back. Got your answer. Problem solved. Very simple. But, everybody doesn't have the same level of experience or crossed that bridge before. That's the beauty of it is, they're all different. Like I said, when I train somebody, the concept's the same, but all the jobs are different.
You gotta have that flexibility, the willingness to learn, the willingness to listen.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's really simple. You just got to have all the stars align up, right?
There you go.
Yeah.
Get it there when they need it. Hank, thank you so much for taking the time to share your experience, your expertise with us. Really appreciate you breaking down renovation and how to make something that can be complicated a lot simpler.
Yeah. It just takes a little listening and patience and understanding.
Love it. Thank
you. I enjoyed it.
And thank you for listening to this episode of the MRO Show presented by Chadwell Supply. If you appreciated what's heard here and you learned something, please rate us 5 stars in your favorite podcast service. And if you want more MRO Show, check us out at chadwellsupply.com/podcast.